If you are working as a product manager, performance marketer, business analyst, or data analyst, you should know about different hypothesis tests in order to implement them on your real world data. As a product manager, you may wonder whether to investigate or to add a new feature to your product which requires testing different hypotheses. Similarly, as a performance marketer, since you work with various customers, you may need to investigate different hypotheses for your customers. And finally, as a business analyst or data analyst, it is apparent that you work with different specific data sets for which you need to conduct various hypothetical tests. Therefore, we have collected and categorized all hypotheses that you need to learn in your business. There are 16 hypothesis tests that each of these roles should know and be aware of in employing them in their data. In this video, we are going to cover these tests, an overview of them, and finally, in other upcoming videos, in the Applied Statistics for Business, we will delve into each of these hypothetical tests with real examples. The first group of hypothesis tests is when we have one sample of data. For example, we want to see whether the mean of single sample is significantly different from a known or hypothesized population mean. There are different hypothesis tests in this category: z-test, t-test, proportion test, and variance tests, which we will cover in a separate video. The second type of hypothesis test is related to the two samples of data when we want to compare, for example, the means of two independent samples if they are significantly different from each other, or if we want to compare the proportions between two samples, the variance between two samples. There are different hypothesis tests in this category, such as z-test, t-test, t-test, proportion test, and variance test. Similarly to one sample, we will have one separate video for this type of hypothesis. Another category which we are going to cover in the applied statistics tutorials for business analytics and for data science, it's when we have more than two samples. Imagine that we have 3 samples, 4 samples, and we are going to compare different statistics among these samples. Here we can use ANOVA test, which we will delve into ANOVA test in a separate video. And there is one specific category for hypothesis test which we call goodness of fit. When we want to assess how well a statistical model fits a set of observed data, there are different options for us in order to detect it. We have chi-square hypothesis test, we have Kolmogorov, Smirnov, Anderson-Darling, and Rion-Joyner. We will explain the logic behind these kind of hypothesis tests, and we will apply them in practice on a data set in order to understand them. And as the last category, which we consider for different job roles such as performance marketer, digital marketer, business analyst, and data analyst, in order to understand and learn them to implement on their data set, it's about regression coefficients. Of course, we will delve into regression concepts in a separate tutorials, and we will discuss more details in terms of the statistical tests which you can have when you are modeling your data using different regression models. But here we will cover 2 types of hypothesis tests which you use in order to detect the overall significance of regression models Imagine that you have a model in which you incorporate different predictors, and you want to see are those predictors significantly effectful on your response variable or not. Here we use the overall significance. In addition to overall significance, we will have individual hypothesis tests in order to detect whether a specific variable is statistically important in your model or not, in order to decide to keep that specific variable or remove that. Of course, there are more advanced methods for feature selection, which we need to first learn regression concepts and then understand those methods. But here in the hypothesis tutorial, we will also see these two kinds of hypothesis tests in order to investigate your regression coefficients. So if we sum up all these hypothesis tests, we will have 5 categories: 1 sample, 2 samples, more than 2 samples, goodness of fit, regression coefficient tests. And all of these hypothesis tests would be equal to 16, which are really crucial to know their applications, and of course, in addition to their applications, know how to implement them on your real world problems in order to get more insights in your business. So in upcoming videos, we will delve into different hypothesis tests and we will learn how to implement them on data.